Hey, it's Pane here. Welcome to episode 117 of Insights. Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Hey, you know George Lucas, the fellow who, of course, was the producer, creator of Star Wars back in the 70s and 80s? Well, he was known to have once said that we all live in a cage with the door wide open. Love that. When I read this morning, literally, it sent some kind of weird shiver up and down my spine. Now, I'm not here to say that you're living in a cage because obviously I don't know who you are right now listening to this. But something that I'm reasonably certain of is that all of us have got some aspect of our lives where we are living that part of our lives in a cage with the door wide open, which is a fancy way of saying that we haven't come close to realizing the potential that we can become in that particular skill set or that particular area of our life, whatever that might be. This also reminds me of a story that Tim Denning on Substack just recently shared about the northern pike fish, and how if you put the northern pike in a large aquarium sort of tank and you put a glass wall, a glass thingy in the middle, and you have the northern pike on one side, it spends about 3 days trying to swim to the other side of the aquarium, and it keeps bumping its nose into this invisible glass shield, and it injures itself. It gets quite it's a painful experience for it. And after 3 days, it actually stops doing this. It quits doing this. And experimenters in the past, I know this sounds really awful. I don't know when this experiment was done, but they remove the see-through wall halfway through the aquarium, at the midpoint of the aquarium, and just where the wall was, they placed the food that the northern pike typically loves to eat. Now, the northern pike at this point after 3 days has been conditioned to not pass that invisible wall that now no longer exists. It's actually not there anymore. And the food is right there. In fact, there are many moments where the northern pike's snout, or fish don't have snout, but you know what I mean? Like it is centimeters away from eating the food, but it thinks that glass perspex thingy, whatever it is, that wall is still there. And it doesn't eat the food. And it ends up dying with the food only centimeters, if not millimeters, from its mouth. Now, in our lives, we all carry beliefs that are of similar ilk, where, as I've covered in previous episodes, a belief is nothing more than a convenient assumption, something that we have conveniently assumed to be true. The northern pike, if it had a mind like a human or an ego, it has conveniently assumed that the wall is still there and can't access the food. It is like the convenient assumption that we're living in a cage that we're so familiar with that we don't walk through the open door, that we don't realize that the door was either unlocked or open wide the whole time. Is for whatever reasons of historical experiences that we have placed ourselves in these conditioned, limited positions. So what are we to do about this? How does this actually work? How do we release ourselves from any kind of history that is holding us back? So there's a couple of things here. Is that, and I wrote this in my journal yesterday, based on the wonderful work of a colleague of mine, Hey Lam, where he actually said, Hey Lam Yao, he actually said, build your future on your potential, not on your past. The northern pike is not eating the food because of its past experience of the last 72 hours. It assumes that the past now will define its future existence. It is assumed that it can't pass through this invisible wall that no longer exists because it's defined, its actions and its potentiality and its thought process and its belief systems are defined by historical experience and historical narrative. Our history to some degree matters, sure. A lot of our wisdom and is built on experience. A lot of our learnings are built on experience of the past. I get that, absolutely. But in so many ways, the past just simply doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't. Like everything that the past has had to contribute to who we are now, it's already been contributed. It's already within us. It's already within our heart and soul and our mind. And so now it's about redefining what we want to become and what's possible for us moving forward. So whatever goal, dream, vision, whatever lifestyle changes or whatever it is that really spikes your spirit and raises your heart rate in a very positive way, whatever it turns your spirit on, it's about resetting or deciding And the word decide means to cut off from the past. The CIDE prefix means to kill off, to cut off, to move away from. So to make a decision means to cut off from the past. It has already contributed everything that it can possibly contribute in a positive way. And when we stare at the past instead of just looking at it, it can really hold us back. So let's define and create our future based on our potential rather than our history. And so what happens is, and what I want to share with you here is a principle that I just recently taught. I was running a workshop just recently with a executive team of a medical center sort of business. Ironically, in that same week, I was also running a similar session with sales agents in the real estate space. And I said the same thing to both in different contexts. And that is that if you truly want to grow in a very sustainable way and really become emotionally fit, and remember that emotional fitness is about continually transforming our relationship with uncertainty. I know that that's a priority of most leaders and professionals in the world. I don't know about you if you're a coach, consultant, or leader, or whatever your professional background is listening to this podcast. But let me tell you that to add to everything I'm saying here, that our relationship with uncertainty matters more than anything else as far as our psychological landscape is concerned, because the degree of which we embrace uncertainty will determine the degree of which we will grow so we can fulfill whatever potential lies ahead of us, so we can build the future that we're wanting to build rather than building it on past history and past evidence. So a principle that I shared in these workshops that I actually I presented for the first time at a business networking event about a year ago, and it went down really, really well. And it's this, is that most people chase comfort as a goal. They do the things that they do in order to have more certainty, more comfort, more safety, more security. Now, on the surface, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, we all want these things. We all need, in fact, a base layer of some kind of certainty, some kind of security, some kind of safety. Absolutely. It's reasonably obvious to state that we need that as a base layer in order to function as a human being. I get that. But when that very thing, that base layer of comfort, we'll call it comfort, becomes the goal, we've got a problem, because we're not being inspired or motivated by the same thing. In other words, what I'm saying is that if comfort becomes the goal, guess where comfort lives? Guess where comfort has been created from? Our past. How many things? I'm sure there's aspects to all of our histories and experiences that make us uncomfortable. I get that. But there's also many things that we're familiar with because of our past that bring us comfort. So to move away from the hold or impact, that negative impact that potentially our past has, what we need to do is we need to shift away from making comfort a goal and make it a reward. Now, this is beautiful, because when you make comfort a reward instead of a goal, it changes everything. Because when you make comfort a reward, it presupposes that you're going to have to get uncomfortable in order to make comfort a reward. Because the only way that comfort can become a reward is to experience the contrast, the power of contrast. All meaning in life comes from contrast. Everything has its place and makes sense to some level based on contrast. We know hot because we know cold. We know up because we know down, and so on. So contrast is really powerful. Now, this is fascinating because one of the thought processes or thought systems that I teach in the emotional fitness formula to organizations and teams is that when you have comfort as a reward, it helps drive you through the discomfort because the contrast is so beautiful. I'll give you a simple example. When I've gone for a longish kind of a run that is, uncomfortable, where my legs are fatigued, etc. And I had how often I've said this to my running friends is that after the run, we sit down and have coffee. The very simple act of sitting and having coffee and feeling so comfortable sitting and drinking this wonderful warm drink, the contrast of that to the previous hour or 2 hours of discomfort is incredible. It adds another dimension of depth and meaning to the simple act of sitting down. Isn't that amazing? I hope you get it. I feel like I'm getting really too excited about this topic. So, but it's so important. And so just recently, literally just a few days ago, as of the time of the recording of this particular episode, I'm an avid runner, as many of you who follow me know, and I just recently ran my 30th half marathon. That's a 21.1 kilometer run race. And I did this particular event as part of my preparation in 6 weeks' time for the full marathon, which is 42.2 kilometers, which is a distance that demands respect, the 42.2. It is really quite challenging, regardless of talent, regardless of skill, regardless of ability. It is a long way to road run, very different to trail runs. It's a whole nother conversation. This is not a running podcast. So, so the point I'm making is that comfort was the reward, not the goal. So I had a really tough day. I had the half marathon, the race itself didn't turn out to be what I expected it to be. I had some emotional disappointment. So I went through a bit of I just basically, the race plan didn't go to plan. And at the halfway mark of this 21 kilometer race, my legs blew up, as we say in running. Blow up doesn't mean literally they blow up. It means that fatigue set in really super early, and I could maintain nowhere near the race pace that I thought I could, that I know I can. Now, I don't know the reason why this happened. I haven't bothered wasting any time. Running experience has taught me, life experience has taught me, being in business for the last 20 years has taught me that sometimes just trying to work out why something went wrong to the nth degree can confuse us even more. And sometimes it'll lead us down garden paths that aren't entirely accurate. So I don't know why that happened. It just happened. I know that with running, you do all the preparation. The body's so complex that there are aspects of the body that perhaps haven't recovered yet that the conscious mind can't detect. And you don't find out until you push the edges that you discover that you're not as fresh as you think you are. And that day it became quite obvious to me. And the point I'm making is that what drove me through were how I nursed my body through the last, 10 Ks, which was incredibly painful. I mean, let me put this into context. I mean, there are worse pains out there. I get that. But you get my point. I'm running this thing, and what I thought about was what was going to bring me comfort. What was going to be the reward at the other end? Part of that reward, there was two rewards that came to mind. This race finished through a running finishing chute that finishes onto a park, a grassy park. And I was picturing already finishing the race, taking my shoes off and walking barefoot in this grassy land. Oh my God, the simplicity of that was so exciting to think about. And then I thought about the other reward, which was a burger and a beer a few hours later. And so having comfort as a reward rather than a goal helps you navigate the inevitable difficulties of life, helps you navigate the intense parts of life, helps you navigate the challenges that we either consciously or unconsciously or invite or don't invite into our lives. So that's the power of this. And so I discovered this very, very, in a very visceral sort of sense on the weekend, when just thinking about the simplicity of walking barefoot on the grass, how that took my focus away from the pain I was experiencing in those last 10 Ks. Thinking later about the burger and the beer that I was going to have as a well-deserved reward was something that brought me great delight. Yet, most people chase comfort as a goal. And if you don't have that contrast, how many burgers and beers can you have before burgers and beers become quite boring or quite bad for you? If I was to walk barefoot in grass for the rest of my life with no contrast, do you reckon it would have the same impact? Probably not. I mean, yes, it's grounding and it's got all the biological, physiological benefits. I get that. But I'm talking about a psychological, emotional experience of it. It's contrast that provides meaning. It's contrast that engages us in life. And so I'm just going to reiterate this point because it's so important. Please do not make comfort a goal in life, because it's not enough to pull you through those hard times. You make comfort a reward. It's something that you earn. It's something that you become. It's something, because when you've experienced the contrast of difficulty and you've got the comfort at the other end, whatever that comfort is, whether it's walking barefoot on grass, or whether it's having your favorite food, or whether it's the simplicity of just simply sitting on a chair with a cup of coffee overlooking the river and just chilling, it's just so beatific. It is so amazing. And to me, that's what life is all about. It's all of these little experiences that are rewarding. At the one of the trainings I delivered just in the last well, about 2 weeks ago, I was with this wonderful team. There was about 25 of them in the room, and we had half the room were between the ages of 17 and 21, and the other half of the room were kind of in their 30s, and we had a few people in their 40s and 50s. And I was teaching this principle to them, and I was sharing the importance of little tweaks to our psychology, little tweaks in our focus can make such a big difference. It's like you're tuning into 101 FM playing classical music. If you just off tune just a little bit, if the radio or the frequency is slightly out of alignment with the Spotify app or with the thingy that you're using to tune into that frequency, you're kind of not going to get the music. You're going to get white noise, or you'll get a little bit of sound from this, a little bit of sound from that. It's not very pleasurable. Psychologically, this is what sharpens our frequency. Doing hard things to then experience comfort afterwards as a reward adds another dimension to the experience of doing the simple things in life, such as sitting down. I hope this point's coming across right. The one thing, guys, that I find that's challenging for me when I record a podcast episode is that I don't have feedback from a live audience to disagree with me or agree with me or ask me questions. So I'm assuming that what I'm saying here is resonating deeply with your soul. I dare say that if you have made it this far, there's something I've said here that is resonating with you, profoundly or, in a perfect way. So I'm going to wrap up now. And I'm going to share with you that this one little tweak is what sharpens our ability to tune in to feeling really good about ourselves. Do you know what it does for your esteem, your self-respect, your self-trust even, by following through on the hard things that you need to do, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a creative thing, a work thing, a professional thing, whatever skill thing it is, if it involves you being uncomfortable and doing something that you genuinely find difficult. And on the other side of that, the reward is some kind of comfort. That is a beautiful thing. And what happens is when you experience that comfort, you get to experience the reality and the experience of life on a much deeper level. There's a deep level, a visceral experience of appreciation, a visceral experience of gratitude. It is real and it is profound. And these are the joys that life brings us, you see. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. The essence of emotional fitness is, as I said at the early part of this conversation, that yes, emotional fitness is about transforming our relationship with uncertainty. Absolutely. And one of 43 ways, because the emotional fitness formula, I have 43 different ways of how to transform our relationship with uncertainty. And I've shared with you one of them today, which is the ability and the awareness to make comfort a reward, not a goal. Now, if this has resonated with you and you're curious to know more about how you can boost your emotional fitness, well, coming up very soon, I've actually got a 3-part series. It's a free event over a period of 3 sessions that go for about 2 hours each. And we get to explore deeply these other avenues to become emotionally fit. The more emotionally fit you become, the more you can handle in life. The more emotionally fit you become, the deeper your connection with people, the more profound your experience is of the most simplest of things in life. And we begin to realize that it's true what the cliche says, that the best things in life are free. You know what I mean? Like the pleasure of sitting down on a chair, just overlooking a river, for example, after you've done something difficult, something hard. Even if you've had a really difficult meeting that you've had to navigate at work and then taking some time out to go and chill and sit under a tree, how beautiful is it sitting under that tree? So doing hard things and doing them well and getting to the other side and having comfort as a reward is beautiful. So that's one avenue. That's one of 43 different ways. So if you care to join me, somewhere around here is a link to sign up for the 3-part series. It's called the Emotional Fitness Bootcamp. Can't wait to deliver it. It's an ever-evolving boot camp. I've delivered several of these over the last 4 or 5 years, and every one of them has been incredibly different. You'll get an opportunity also to meet some of the wonderful accredited emotional fitness students that I've helped along the way boost them in their businesses and in their professional careers by embracing these thought systems and frameworks that is the emotional fitness formula. So, yeah, there's a link somewhere around here. Click that and tap on that, and you get to get all the details. And hopefully, I'll get to see you live in a few weeks' time. So, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Always appreciate it. Enjoy, and I look forward to reconnecting with you again very, very soon in the upcoming episode, which will be episode 118. You've been listening to episode 117. All the very best. Bye for now. I trust you enjoyed this latest episode of the Insights Podcast and received great value. Please remember to subscribe and share your reviews, and I'll see you again very soon.